Word of the day is words of the day. Comprehensive versus comprehensible. Yes.
Comprehensible is like something that you are able to understand, and comprehensive is that is
No.
No.
Say again?
Exhaustion.
Yes.
Like covers everything.
Good. That's it. Okay, good. You got the other one right. Yes. Comprehensive is complete, including all or nearly all elements or aspects of something. Comprehensible is what Emily said, which is able to be understood or intelligible. Okay, yes. So for example, you could say your rhetorical analysis wasn't comprehensive enough. It only addressed a few sentences out of the entire text. Or you could say your rhetorical analysis addressed every single sentence, but it wasn't comprehensible, meaning that I couldn't understand it. Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's gonna be like, oh, you're teaching us things that you're gonna.
So I'm teaching you this now because what happened was 2 years ago. That was one of the phrases I used. That it was this paragraph wasn't comprehensive, and a lot of people misunderstood me and thought I meant comprehensible. So when they revised it, they just made it clearer, but they still didn't make it spend more. So I thought I'd teach you this ahead of time. Yeah. All right. Daily English error. We're skipping rhetorical terms for now. They'll come later. I punctuate like I'm British.
Punctuation before quotation.
Oh, I've never heard of that one before. I've never heard of the acronym. There you go. So the mistake is placing commas and periods outside of the quotation marks. And this is only a mistake if you're American. Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember learning that.
Yeah. So this is, have you heard of Grammar Girl? Grammar Girl, it's a website. It's a good grammar site. She gives good explanations. I don't know who she is. The most common question people ask about quotation marks is whether periods and commas go inside or outside. And the answer depends on where your audience lives.
Yes,
because in American English, yeah, we read this?
No,
Oh,
I read
you read this. Okay. In American English, we always put periods and commas inside the quotation marks, but in British English, periods and commas can go inside or outside, kind of like the American rules for question marks and exclamation points. I use this memory trick inside the US, inside the question mark, the quotation marks. Yours is good also, right? The only reason that yours is not entirely good is it's not always true.
What is yours?
Okay. PBQ, punctuation before quotations.
Period.
Yeah, period. Oh, is that what you said? Period?
No, I said punctuation.
Yeah, period before quotation is good. Okay.
But it doesn't rhyme.
At the beginning of, let's say you're doing someone stated,
Yeah.
comma, then you do the quotation.
Right.
Comma before, so that's.
Oh, okay, that's good also. Yeah, I guess that's addressing a different thing than what I'm talking about. So here's one of the exceptions is colons and semicolons go outside of the quotation marks. Okay. And then what about question marks or exclamation points?
Outside.
It's a trick question. Depends if it's part of the quote, right? So if it's part of the quote, so here are 3 examples, okay? The first 2 are common, the last one's not so common. What does the Rama mean by celestial sphere, question mark? So there I'm asking a question about his use of this phrase celestial sphere, and I'm asking a question about it, so I put the question outside. The student laughed at the test question, is the sky blue? So there I'm quoting a question.
But you don't put like a period at the end of that.
No, you don't, because it's got one. Yeah. And then here's ready for the awkward one. What did Avram mean when he said, how will I know? Yeah, so, but why do you need both? Because you're asking a question about his question. Yeah. Yeah, this one just doesn't come up very much, and that's why, I think that's why it looks so weird. Yeah.
With the semicolons, let's say you're quoting something that has a semicolon in it, you have to break that up into 2 quotes.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Okay, let's say there's a sentence, I like chicken, potatoes, salad,
Yeah,
with a colon. Do you have to separate I like chicken, and then when you put the colon into one quotation, and then
Wait, start again. So the sentence, is this in quotation marks or not?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me the sentence again.
I like doing.
Okay.
I like colon, and then close quotation mark. Open new quotation mark. Chicken.
When?
Because you said that if you use a colon or a semicolon, you have to.
So I think the reason why.
I meant to put the colon in between the 2 quotations.
I'm really confused.
She's saying that when you use a colon, like I like, then saying
I just can't imagine a scenario in which this would come up.
No, like this. Well, that's what I thought you were saying.
Oh, okay. No, what I mean is like hold on just 1 second here.
This is why we need English.
trying to think of another scenario where you'd be. I can't think of a scenario for mine either.
Using a semicolon, maybe.
I think it needs to come up.
Yeah. All right. Fine. So I guess we'll know.
Yeah, semicolon probably not.
Yeah. I don't know.
Even if it's
All right.
part of
Never
the
use
quote.
semicolons.
Was that?
Even if it's part of the quote or not.
If it's part of the quote, well, the thing is where's it going to end? You know, like because that's what I was confusing about layers is you're not going to really end a quote with a.
Let's say you will. I don't know.
No, I don't think you would. Right.
You can't.
When do you even use
Fine,
a
like
bullet?
with a-
Like for example, like if I said we hold these truths to be self-evident,
That's
right?
all
Now
mandated equal.
that yeah, right. So if I was just quoting that first part,
Why do you need
then I wouldn't need to include the colon. I would just say we hold these truths to be self-evident. Yeah.
Then you just wouldn't put punctuation. Let's say you want to quote something with a semicolon. That actually like, is more common. You want to quote one half of a sentence.
Right. I don't think you would need to include the semicolon in that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, good. All right, glad we worked that through. Okay, so hold on. Let's go back to the correct view here. Hide presenter view. Share again. All right, no new homework, just the same homework from the term paper help thing. Any questions on that came up? Okay.
How
That's
long
fine.
is it supposed to be?
As long as you think is appropriate for an email, because that's one of the things you're going to have to make. That's one of the rhetorical choices you have to make, right? For example, what would be the risk of what would be the risks involved in linked decisions about
If
this?
it's too long, your teachers.
Yes, right. Is if it's too long, they're going to be annoyed, right?
Plus we
If you're
Sure,
sure, you
like-
might not include as much.
Yeah. So that's a decision you have to make. Yeah. Okay. Today's theme, the theme of today's lesson is loose ends, which means there is no theme. The way that the modem fell out and the fact that I had to do this whole term paper thing yesterday messed up our routine a little bit. We were supposed to start our rhetorical analysis yesterday. So I'm going to do a bunch of stuff that I was going to do later on, but we'll just do it all today. So there's if you're looking for like a unified theme here, there's none. Okay. First thing is just a handout I wanted to give out. I realized I never gave you a handout with rhetorical triangle with ethos, pathos, and logos. So here's a handout, and tell me. I just saw this now. I think maybe the hole punching things are out of are like not proper. So if this looks funny, then you can give it back or throw it away, and I'll give you another one. So you gotta take one, pass it down. So there's nothing new here.
So you have a binder?
got it from Dollar Tree.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've never seen you like with a binder before. I don't know.
That's why it's broken already, but it's fine. I don't like
You gotta be paid for it.
Okay. Second thing we're going to talk about is based on a question Adina asked about the yesterday about the way that you address your professor. Okay, right. So this is something first rhetorical term of the day, language register, and I would be surprised if anyone's heard of this before. Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Nice. What does it mean?
It's kind of like the different ways people talk kind of in the different areas could be like the same language.
Oh, good. Okay, good. That's basically the definition on the sheet. The way a speaker uses language differently in different circumstances. Nice. Okay. Now, I am going to give you a handout about this. So just, you could write down that one definition, but you don't need to take notes on this next part because I'm going to give you a handout. In fact, I'll just give you the handout now. I was going to wait, but. I have my own definition of this, which I'll state at the end, but after we understand it, because I think my definition is slightly better. Yeah, I didn't write the sheet, by the way. So it says, could someone read? Go ahead.
In music, a register refers to the height or range of a note is tone and pitch. Similar concept applies to language registers or levels. Each level has an appropriate use that is determined by the rhetorical situation. The audience, who, topic, what, purpose, why, location, where, and style, how. People in general, even as children, develop a sense of adapting their language to situation. Language of the school cafeteria doesn't work in a job interview or with your grandmother. The great American writer James Baldwin goes so far as to declare in a 1979 essay that language is a key to identity. It is certainly true that someone who understands and can effectively use the right language register in an appropriate situation is tremendously advantaged over someone who can't.
Okay, so that doesn't quite give us specifics yet, but now let's look at and see what he means. So there are 5 language registers, okay? So the first one is the static register, which you will most of the time not use. This style of communication rarely or never changes. It is frozen in time and content. For example, the Pledge of Allegiance does not change. No matter what circumstance you're in, you say it in the same way. Do you guys ever say that in school, or is this?
I used to.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people still used to, but the preamble to the Constitution, bibliographical references, written laws, famous mottos. Can you think of some examples in Judaism? Torah doesn't change, right? That's also true. Brachos, right? Like, it's not like you change up how you say a bracha depending on where you're at. It's exactly the same words, okay? That's why it's called static. 2, the formal register. This is the level of language used in formal situations and is one way in nature. This formal register often follows a commonly accepted format and is impersonal in tone. So speeches, sermons, civic proclamations and declarations, pronouncements by judges or elected officials. So this is, I mean, we use this, we call it formal speech, right? Okay. 3, professional register. In most situations, this is a standard form of communications. At this level, users engage in a mutually accepted structure of communications with definite societal expectations. Not to be able to communicate at this register in both speech and writing can be a handicap that limits social success or career advancement. Examples: professional discourse, let's say like between doctors or scientists, meeting with strangers when you don't really know the person and you use a professional tone. Pleased to meet you. Communications between socially superior and subordinate roles, doctor and patient, judge and lawyer, teacher and student, employer and employee, police officer and citizen, senior citizen and teenager. Number 4, casual registers. This is the informal language used by peers and friends. This is group language, and depending on the group, slang, vulgarities, what's another word for vulgarities? Yeah, like, what was it? Cursing, right. And colloquialisms. Yeah. What's a colloquialism?
I know what it is.
Some of them are metaphors. What would you say, Alicia?
I don't know. Basically, there's a story behind it. This kid in debate,
Yeah.
like, he was like trying to shade me. I don't know how to describe it, but we were in the middle of debating, and then he was like, I was like crossing him, and I was asking him a question on what he said.
Yeah.
He was talking about like an oligarchy, and it literally had nothing to do with debate. Like, it was about like Supreme Court judges.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's gonna be an oligarchy. So I'm like, what do you mean oligarchy? He's like, you don't know colloquialism. So it was an answer, and then since then I've been trying to understand what it means, but I think it means like the way you use words.
Okay, colloquial is the way you use word, like the way the words are used as opposed to their formal definitions, right? So for example, like an example of the colloquial use versus the technical use.
In Brooklyn, they say, oh, that's like brick. That's like cold.
Yeah, I'm trying to think though the difference between like, because I would say that that's like slang, you know? Let me think of an example. Just give me 1 second here. Oh, here's a good example, okay? So the technical term trafe means specifically an animal that had a certain type of like internal organ deficiency, like in its lung or something. But the colloquial use of trafe is anything not kosher, right? So that's like the colloquial use, the way that it is commonly used as opposed to like the technically correct meaning. So those things are normal in this register. One must be, this is the key point. One must be perceived as a member of the group to comfortably engage in this register, right? So what was making you laugh? Because I also laughing.
Like those people who try to fit in and try to, like old people when they try to use slang.
Yes.
Video
Yes, that's what I was thinking. That's why I started laughing, right? Is Paul Rudd trying to like use a millennial slang? Yeah. Gen Z. Yeah. He was calling himself a millennial in that one, in the video. Talking with buddies or teammates, texting, letters, social media interactions, right? So that's casual. And then the only thing lower than that, I don't want to say lower because it's not really lower, but intimate register. This communication is private, is reserved for close family members or other intimate relationships. It often has its own special words or codes, which are only understood by those relations. Inside jokes, pet names, right? So this is between husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, siblings, parents and children. Okay, now here is the whole point of me showing you this entire thing, okay? I don't think knowing these 5 is not so important. This is the rule. One can usually transition from one language register to an adjacent one without encountering negative repercussions. Skipping one or more levels, however, is usually considered inappropriate and even offensive. Okay, so if you are speaking something in the professional register, okay, you're writing to your professor, right? You can dip into the casual register, you know, and that will not be considered, offensive. But if you go into the intimate register, like call them honey bunch, okay, or like here would be a good example, right? I could see someone thinking, all right, let's say you're writing to your professor, okay, and let's say it's an email back and forth, okay, and you say, I'd be fine with that. That's like a little bit more casual, right? That's not something you use in, necessarily that you use in professional. I mean, that's debatable, right? But let's say your professor offers to like read over your letter and you say, oh, that's sweet. I feel like saying that's sweet is a little bit more like you use that, when you're talking to like a really, really good friend or like, a little kid, that's pushing it a little bit,
Or like you start with dear professor and then you end like love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to say love there, right?
One example of like dipping from one to the other is like that, oh, dear professor, thank you so much.
Yeah, that'd be right. Exactly. Thank you so much. Now, you again, some of these are a little hard to tell because you could say that that's casual, right, and therefore it'd be okay. Or you could say that no, you only really like use stuff like that with your close ones.
Like the casual.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's certainly, we can agree it's certainly not professional, right? Yeah.
Can you go in the opposite direction?
Yeah, opposite direction also. So let's say, okay, here's another example. Okay, let's say you're talking to your friends, okay, and then you immediately start speaking as though you're giving a speech. Then it's gonna be awkward, right? If you and you'll be an outcast, yeah. Or if you're in the professional register, and I mean this is not gonna happen so much, and you like. Yeah, that's going to be awkward. You just cite a bibliography. Yeah. Yeah. I had this happen to me once. Oh, this is the most bizarre thing. Okay. So this is in my first year teaching at Shelhevet. And there was a student who was causing some behavior problems, and it was parent-teacher conferences. I'd never met the dad before. Talking to the dad, and I don't know if he was doing this like, I don't know why he was doing this. He only spoke in like psukim and phrases of Chazal. Okay, it was the oddest dialogue I've ever had, and like I would like say something about his daughter, and like he would like quote like a Chazal, and like. It made for a very, very weird conversation. So he was skipping 2 registers going to the static.
Kind of like,
yeah. What was that?
kind of like showing like I'm reading all the Torah. Like you can't.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. It's been so long ago, I don't remember. What's the phrase that people use? Kavod bas melech pnima. Say it again. Yeah. So he said that as a response to something that I brought up, and that was the sentence he said, and I was like, I think I was just too shocked.
He said that like in a way where it's like you say something and then
Like, how do I respond to that?
But he was like,
Yeah, yeah. But even that was weird because it was not a.
Defense mechanism.
Yeah.
When I was in camp, there was like the speaker, and beforehand they like said like, oh, like, I have Asperger's, or she was talking about someone who had it,
Yeah.
and she would say how like the person would just be speaking, and then when they were like thinking, instead of like like quietly thinking, they would say registering, and then they would like.
That's a little odd. Yeah.
They had Asperger's, like.
Oh, okay. I missed that point. Yeah, right. Still is odd. It's just understandable.
Yeah.
The another example of this of skipping 2 registers was when I first moved to New York. There's like a lot of stuff that like sayings that Frum Jews say and are normal here, and it's part of casual. But to me, it's not, or it wasn't at the time. So let's say, for example, you like I would ask someone like, "How's it going?" and they'll say, "Baruch Hashem Yom Yom." Now that's something that like. I guess is used enough in certain circles that it's casual, but to me, they were quoting a pasuk from Tehillim, and I'm like, that it's just, it's weird. I wanted to know how you are, not like, anyway, yeah.
Oh yeah, all of them say Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, right. That's the more, that one I knew, right? But yeah.
It's funny when Mr. Kelly says it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's trying to get in with the team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The tea?
the team, not the T. Oh, you got so excited there. Okay, so we understand this concept,
Yeah.
and I think this is a handy rule, right? Like, and you'll see that good writers will dip down or up in terms of registers to make it more, when the rhetorical choice makes that more effective. But there's a line. Okay, yeah. So keep this in mind when you're writing to your professor. Okay, next random thing, not tied to anything, is on. You don't have to take it out, but on the soapstone sheet I gave you, there were some things at the top that we didn't talk about, and I just wanted to go back and talk about this. So, title of the text. We know why that's important because it's kind of part of the text, right? What the author calls it. Date of publication or delivery. So this has to do with what element of soapstone? Yeah, the context, which is part of occasion, right? Did you say content or context?
Context.
Yeah, context, right? Yeah. Okay, so fine. Yeah.
Not what letter it was.
Yeah.
In soapstone.
Yeah, this is the occasion. Yeah, genre of text. So this is something that doesn't fit squarely into the. Sorry, we're gonna talk about that one last. Okay, name of the author. Fine. All right, now gender and ethnicity. These are two things that are part of speaker, right? But why are they important? This is a general question. Why are they important? Yeah.
No. So well, it may not always be important, but I feel like especially in like stuff, let's say if it was like Martin Luther King, it's like important.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are categories that when you're thinking of the speaker, these are good questions to bring to mind. That it's not always going to be relevant, but if you're, let's say, an African American giving a speech about civil rights or about Black Lives Matter, that's very different than a white person or something like that. Or let's say if you are speaking about women, something that has to do with women, and you are a woman, versus if you're a man, that might affect the way that it'll affect your rhetorical choices, it'll affect the way the audience perceives you. So it's good to keep these in mind. There are other things like that also, which I didn't list. What would be other things that might be relevant about the author, like categorical questions that might come up? Age, right? Okay, good, right? So if you have, let's say, did I see an example of this recently? No. Yeah, if you have like a 20-year-old giving a speech, let's say like a business convention versus like a 60-year-old who's had a whole career behind him, you're going to relate to their advice differently. What else?
Career.
Say again? Career, right? Their profession. Good. What else? Is that what you said, Ayala?
No,
Okay, fine. So that's clearly part of ethos. Certain cases, religion, right? Or their religiosity, So just be aware that there are lots of categories like this. I just put these two up there because in a lot of the AP texts, then they choose, let's say they'll try to choose like it used to be like I think they still do this. In every FRQ or multiple choice, they would be sure to include one person of color, one woman, one, like they try to like have diverse people. So like, that's why I included it up there. Okay, genre. How would you define genre? We all use it. It's very hard to define. Okay, group that something fits into. It's related to the word genus, I think, maybe. I don't know, I'm making that up. Now I gotta look and see. I would think it is, right?
in the area of style.
Okay, so style also has to do with it. Hold on a second. Genre, I just want to look at the etymology here. Comes from, oh, interesting. It does not come from that. Oh, well, it comes from gender, genre, and then gender comes from genus, which is category. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. So this is a Google's definition: a category of artistic composition, as in music or literature, characterized by similarities in form, style, or subject matter. So sometimes genre is defined by the content. Sometimes it's defined by the manner. Okay, form and style to me are like similar. So this is one actually that I think Soapstone does not cover. right? I don't think does this fit into any one of those? I don't think it fits squarely into any one of those. Kind of, you could say subject, but not really, because you could have the same subject through in different genres. You know, you could have like let's say like the subject is insecurity. So you can have a horror movie about it. You could have a psychological study about it. You could have, you know, different genres about the same thing. Not really, right? Because you can, you could have the same genre but different audiences. I mean, maybe you take into account the audience when you're doing this, yeah. So being aware of genre is important when you're analyzing a text, and pairing this nonfiction. Okay, I think we know what this means. How would you define nonfiction? Okay, factual, good, right? So the shortest definition, I think, is, I included a lot of definitions. You only need to write one. Writing or cinema that is about facts or real events. Here are other definitions just to show variety. Prose writing other than fiction, such as history, biography, or reference works, especially that which is concerned with the narrative depiction of factual events. Wikipedia, content sometimes in the form of a story whose creator in good faith, oh, this is a good one, whose creator in good faith assumes responsibility for the truth or accuracy of the events, people, or information presented. So that's a definition of nonfiction based on the author's role of, am I trying to present something that I am going to hold up to the standards of truth? Okay, so what's interesting about this definition is you can have something that is technically fiction in the sense that they're writing about something that didn't happen, but they're writing it as a nonfiction commentary. For example, I assume you guys have read at least one book in English class that would fit into that definition, where the story is not real, but they are making a proclamation about the truth. Animal Farm, right? I was thinking Animal Farm. Do you guys read Fahrenheit 451, or is that? Yeah, okay, right. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like that? Everyone hated it. I liked it.
Yeah. So I mean, Animal Farm is the better one, because what was Animal Farm really about? Communism, right? So it's interesting because it was a novel, it was fiction, but he was trying to have a representation through this elaborate allegory of a critique of communism. Yes, the Crucible I think would be in that category also, because the events in the Crucible didn't happen, but they're based on real events and real, like.
He wrote it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. The branch. This is dictionary.com. The branch of literature comprising works of narrative prose dealing with or offering opinions or conjectures upon facts and reality, including biography, history, and the essay, as opposed to fiction and distinguished from poetry and drama. Okay. So what I wanted to go through now, and again, there's no theme to this. This is all loose ends. Is I have a list here of. Oh, I guess some of this was on this handout. Yeah, that was just to give you the handout. I just forgot to give it to you last time, or when we went over it. I want to make sure that you guys know the names of the different genres of nonfiction. Okay, because we've had a couple of cases where a student thought something was something else. Okay, so first of all, 4 general categories of nonfiction writing. Narrative is telling a story, okay, about a person, event, or a place. Expository is you're trying to explain or inform a reader about a topic. Persuasive is when you are taking a position and arguing to convince people of your side or against the other side. And descriptive is writing which aims to paint a vivid picture. Okay, and those of you who are in public speaking or who have taken public speaking will know that these are also categories of speeches, right? Telling a story, giving informative speech, persuasive speech, and then descriptive speeches are not not really a thing. It's more of a genre of writing. Okay, so here's a list, okay? Academic paper and article. This is something which I get the impression from the term paper discussion yesterday that you haven't had a lot of experience reading or writing about like papers with very detailed footnotes and bibliographies and like incorporating studies.
No, my professor, yeah, exactly. So my professor, she told us to like find only academic sources. So I'm like, I don't know what the heck that is. And then I looked and I found one. But they're like 40 pages. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, so academic papers have their own format. Like they'll have like an abstract at the beginning, and then they'll you have to ask your professor that. Right, that's like this is one of the questions that you have to ask your professor is like what standards do I have to meet, and in a lot of fields they have to meet certain criteria. Like, are you familiar with the term peer reviewed? A peer-reviewed study, yeah, right. So like that, it has to go through a whole process where you're checked by people who are in your field to make sure that your methods and your conclusions are legitimate, et cetera. So that's one genre. Advice column.
Like Dear Libby.
Yes, Dear Livy. Okay, right. Yes. What was that? Yes, right. Why is it part of nonfiction? It's about factual, real world things. Okay.
Actually, a lot of the times I think it's
Okay. You can think that. Biography or autobiography, that I'm sure you're familiar with. Okay. A blog. Do you guys know what a blog is?
Yeah.
Okay, because
With the blog.
what? Okay, I don't know what that reference is.
A dog with a
It's
blog.
about this dog that had a blog.
Oh, dog with a blog. Okay, I wasn't sure what you said. Yeah,
My mom used to make fun of me for watching that.
yeah. What is? How do you describe a blog?
Who writes stuff about their opinion.
Okay, yeah. So it's kind of in between a personal journal and a regularly written article. You know, a public journal is a good way to put it. Yeah. Do you know what blog is a shortened form of a?
Biographical.
No, good guess though. Good guess. It's I think it's short for a web log, which is why vlog is short for a video log. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. All right. Now book report. You definitely know what book report is, and this is the thing that. Tell me to what extent this is true. Okay. This is true about me. When I was going to school, I felt like the only kind of writing we had to do in English, or the main kind of writing from elementary school up through middle school, was basically variants of book reports where you're summarizing stuff. You know?
Oh,
No? Good. That means you had a better education than I did.
Except for some creative writing assignments.
Yeah, creative writing was its own category. That's true.
We had some variety, but we never went into detail.
Yeah.
I have, like a taste of a lot of different types of writing, but like I don't know how to do any of them well.
Yeah, that's the problem. Right. Is that the forms of writing you're expected to do are very limited. Right, a caption, which we know what that is from pictures, right? The thing explaining the picture, but that is a genre. Okay, copywriting. Okay, you know what Well, I kind of gave this. Are you familiar with the term copywriting or a copywriter? Not copyright like copyright 1945. If I say like, oh, I'm writing copy, do you know what that means? Okay, good. So this is an example. Copy is the text on advertisements or marketing. Okay, so a copywriter is the person who writes the words that go in advertisements. Okay, and that's why it's /advertorial/ad. So if you are a copywriter, then that is your job, is to write stuff that is used for marketing purposes. All right, and it's not just ads like an ad for like a product. Like if you write, if you're designing a website, so you have the web, you know, the person who designs the website, and then you have the copywriter who writes all of the text for the website to market the stuff. Okay, so that's another thing to know. You know what comics are? Commentary. Okay, so commentary we're familiar with mostly from Torah, but what other kind of commentary are you going to see in like the secular world? Social commentary, political commentary, news commentary. Okay, entertainment commentary. Creative nonfiction. So that would be an example like Animal Farm, right? Animal Farm is nonfiction, but it's in the form of a novel. Okay, or like I guess you can call Midrash this category. Maybe I don't know if you call it creative, but it's like
category is bothering me.
Yeah.
Because you're like anything at that point in time.
No, because it's using the form of nonfiction. But sorry, it's using the form of creativity, but for nonfiction.
Worried about true idea.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
I can write a poetry that's about true ideas. But it's,
Yeah, I guess it kind of blurs the line. But poetry, though, you're not writing about an event, or you're not writing about facts, right?
you could be writing about it like a story.
Oh, that's true. Yes, yeah. All right, fine. You don't have to buy the category. Critique or yeah. And these are not like, this is not like a list that I like attach my soul to. Like this is just like. I went through to just collect all the different types of things and whatever. So cross off, rip it out. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. All right. Critique or review, right? So a movie critic, a book review, diary journal. You know what that is. Documentary. You know what that is. Okay, this is the biggest irony. Okay, that the form. I think it's safe to say the form that you are expected to write most throughout school is essays, but you don't read essays in school. Essays by essayists. When have you ever had to read essay like you're reading in most English classes, you're reading books or novels?
Euro.
Euro, yeah, Euro I guess might be
We
a
got a lot of essays.
yeah. All right, so but that's like already like a higher learning. Like you're asked to write essays in middle school, but they don't ask you to read essays, right? So like it's just a weird that in American education they expect you to write this thing that you don't actually have the reading experience of. Okay, you know what field notes are? Yes, is you go out into the field, right?
Like critics at like a restaurant.
Yeah. Right. So critics at a restaurant, right? They write field notes, I guess you could call it that, and then they translate it into critiques.
Maybe like therapy notes. Like,
Yeah, I think that might actually maybe that's another category, but it's close to that. Yeah, but let's say like you're a bird watcher, right? And you go out and you're like you're taking notes of what you're observing. You know, those are field
The
notes.
woman who observed the monkey.
Yeah, Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food writing. All right, so this is very, very common now, right? Writing about restaurants, writing about like, recipes, but not just to give the recipe, like writing about like the history, the culture, it's its own genre. Okay, guides, manuals, and instructions.
They
I-
lie.
I can't believe like someone's job. Is
Yes, that's what I was saying. We don't think of this as a nonfiction genre, but it is an actual thing that people are paid to figure out how to do and to actually like write.
together.
Instructions is actually so satisfying. I don't know why.
Okay, it's a good job in certain. I guess depends on how specific the like. Oh, what word I read about someone who had like I don't know writing manuals in obscure things. If you're a good writer and you know that field, then that's a good like niche to get money. All right, handbooks are practical guides, usually in like simple rule format or principle format. History, interview, law or legal texts that letters, magazine articles, memoir. Memoir kind of overlaps with autobiography, right? What would you say the difference is?
I think it's more of like a story form.
Yeah,
Like stating-
memoir is more of a story form, right?
Doesn't
Yeah.
encompass your whole life.
Yeah, autobiography is more like a history form, a history of the self. Memoir is like a story. Yeah, and memoir could be about your whole life, or it could be like about an episode in your life. Nature writing, news, journalism. Okay, all right. Straight or raw news? No,
Is that like
Is that
videos
like
that people
is
take
that like
practice
plane
in?
crashes into building?
no. So are you familiar with AP News or Reuters? So let me show you this really quickly. So there are, let's go to Twitter, and actually let's go to Reuters on Twitter. Okay, so I don't know how many of these organizations are. This is like where stories are first reported, and they are very, very on the neutral side in terms of not taking any stances. They're just reporting the raw facts. Okay. And so what other news outlets do is they get these things, and then that's what they choose to either investigate or to write about or to summarize by taking stances on things. So it's just like the raw news that's out there by people who are on the ground reporting about these things. Okay. So writing these things, it is an art. It's not like writing a newspaper article where you might have a certain opinion or analysis. This is no analysis, no opinions, just the facts. Okay, so that's why it's called like raw news. All right, I'll go back through these again. Okay, okay, feature articles. All right, fine. Editorials and op-eds.
Yeah, we did that.
You did that? Okay, good. Because this was one that I had a class that they didn't know what an editorial was. They thought it was actually like, they treated it like factual reporting or something like that. So editorial is when you're having your own opinion. Okay, that we know? All right, good. Nonfiction novel, so I guess that's like Animal Farm. Personal narrative. Personal narrative, again, is very close to memoir and autobiography, right? It could just be about something that happened to you. Philosophy, right? We're familiar with this from Judaism. Photograph is a nonfiction genre because it's a form of art that is conveying a fact, right? Now you can have an interpretation of that fact by how you take the picture and stuff, but you are trying to relay facts. Okay, popular science. I mean, you could kind of get this from the name, but like, what is popular science?
People have adapted to be scientific.
No.
Like-
science of today, not like.
No. Oh, good. So this is a new genre then, or not a new one, but one that you don't know. So this is taking things that the scientists are working on and then making them understandable to the layperson. Okay. As opposed to like, so you're not going to go to the CDC, you're not going to go and read all of the scientific journals that the CDC is basing their stuff on, but the CDC will take all those journals and then translate them into articles that can be understood by a non-scientific person. So that's popular science. Or I mean, that's more of a policy, but like the level that they're aiming for is popular science. Okay, reference books, you know, almanac we don't really use nowadays.
Richard's Almanac was
Poor Richard's Almanac, yeah. Right, Farmer's Almanac. I actually don't know the definition of an almanac. It has a lot of facts and statistics and stuff, but I don't know the definition. Okay, dictionary we know, encyclopedia we know, satire, making fun of something, right? Yeah, self-help books, we're familiar with that. Science book or paper, speech, technical writing, blueprints. I guess we don't think of that as a nonfiction, but it really is because you're showing how to build a building. Design document, similar to blueprints, but okay, diagrams, lab reports, textbooks, theology, which is similar to philosophy, travelogue, right, about what your adventures were from traveling. Yeah, now, here's the thing. Being aware of what the genre is can also affect your interpretation. So when we went over something, when we were going over those quotes when we were doing tone, and like Emily said, it sounds sarcastic to me. I forgot even what the quote was, but like that's something where you might have to make recourse to the genre and ask yourself, well, would we expect to find sarcasm in a science journal? No. So even if it sounds sarcastic, it's probably not sarcastic, you know, or you might infer from the journal who the audience is. Like if this is in I don't know, like a specialized, like a technical, whatever, scientific journal. So then you can assume that it's writing to only people who have expert knowledge in that area and not writing to layperson. So always keep the genre in mind when you are analyzing text. It just doesn't show up on Soapstone. So that's our genre talk. Okay, have a good day.
Yeah, the fish. Like your dad's coming?
Yeah, hopefully.
If not,